But first, already breaking news in the world of college hoops.
Folks, they're having the whole tournament in Indiana, and people in Bloomington are hopping mad because they're not a part of it. Fourth straight year that they have not made the NCAA tournament. Archie Miller has been fired, reportedly, by the Indiana Hoosiers. He came over from Dayton 4 years ago, but never a winning record in Big Ten conference play, and he's reportedly going to be let go. Let's bring in our Matt Norlander from the On College Basketball Podcast for much more on this. Matt, what can you tell us about the Hoosiers pulling the trigger on Archie Miller after year 4?
Well, I'm waiting confirmation from a number of sources. I don't have it yet. Gary Parrish has confirmed via source the previous reports there. What I do have via a source is that Archie Miller met over the weekend with Indiana's leadership. And I was told by a well-connected source that Archie Miller actually felt confident going into the weekend about his job status going forward. It wasn't as though he didn't think that it was impossible that he would be fired, but that was not his expectation here. Clearly, this speaks to the expectations of that program, of that fan base. We've now hit an interesting cycle with Indiana. In some ways, I want to compare it to the Tennessee football job in that you have a rabid fan base that is just dying to get back to consistent national relevance. I would argue Indiana is more well positioned to do that in basketball than Tennessee is in football. And this is such a huge job. This is going to be a $10 million buyout, by the way, for Archie Miller. And that's not one lump sum. They're not going to come to him with a check later this week and say, here, take your $10 million. That's not how buyouts exactly work. But it is a big sum of money here. So they got to do that. This now opens up a significant job where there will be no shortage of candidates. One reason why I'm not surprised on this is I did have a source about 5 days ago come to me. The source is connected to a head coach in the NCAA tournament right now and say that Indiana had put out a feeler for that head coach and said, if our job opens, what would be your level of interest there? So Indiana has been doing its work on the ground in advance of this. I'm not stunned by it. I wasn't expecting it. This is clearly still one of the 10 best jobs in college basketball. And for Archie Miller, I mean, when he was hired, we'll talk about a universally praised hire, Chris. And for it to end like this, it's just not an outcome that anyone saw coming, less than half a decade ago when he was brought on to coach the Hoosiers from Dayton.
Yeah, he made the Elite Eight at Dayton back in 2014. I mean, 27 wins, 25 wins, 24 wins. You're right. I mean, everybody was praising this hire. Everyone, it seemed like, thought this would work. Why didn't it?
That's the biggest question, and it's why Archie Miller reportedly finds himself in the situation that he is in right now. Now, part of it's, he played in the toughest league in the country this season. He actually brought good recruits in, like Trace Jackson Davis was a top 20 player in America here, but it just never fully clicked to the level that Indiana fans demanded. When the Big Ten, here's kind of a big picture, 5,000, 10,000 foot view on this whole thing. Right now, we're getting ready for the return of the NCAA tournament after a 2-year break. The Big Ten is sending 9 teams to the tournament. It's the most in conference history. And the Indiana Hoosiers are not one of those 9 teams. That is just something for the fan base, for the boosters, that they're not comfortable with. They will not settle for this, and clearly a massive buyout is not going to stop them. It goes to show you, really, at the programs that care about this stuff, at the high levels, the highest levels in basketball and football, it doesn't matter what kind of economic impact there is in the midst of a pandemic. If they want to make a change, they're going to make a change. Clearly, the administration and the boosters got enough momentum behind them where they felt that they needed to pull the trigger here. And now the question becomes, what candidates might they look like?
Yeah, big buyout, but not public money. This is booster funded, and they've got deep pockets there, and they want to pay money. They want to spend for a winner, and Indiana has not been a winner. So when you look at the potential candidates, I know it's extremely early, but who would be some of the dream candidates for the Indiana Hoosiers right now?
Okay, so I'm going to mention the one off the top that I just don't think, I would never say never, but Brad Stevens is not leaving the NBA to take the Indiana job. I hope I don't get old takes exposed on this. He is still in a wonderful spot there. I'm just not seeing that. I don't see that. And I also don't see, like, Steve Alford leaving Nevada. Like, that's not your candidate there. You'd have to look around. I'll tell you what, if you look at the one line right now, Scott Drew, coach of Baylor, went to Butler from the area, coached 1 year at Valpo. His dad obviously led Valpo for a long time. He will be a target. I would have to think he will be a target. I would say even within his own league, Mike Boynton, what he's done at Oklahoma State, He's done a wonderful job getting them to a 4 seed, bringing in a #1 pick. He would certainly be someone that I think would be on the radar for Indiana. When you scan elsewhere, I'm trying to kind of vamp off the top of my head here. I don't know. I think Scott Drew is one of the biggest stars that you might potentially look at. A lot of the coaches that would make for ideal candidates already coach in the league. Like Chris Holtmann said at Ohio State, Brad Underwood at Illinois has done a good job as well. Ironically enough, how about this? This firing comes when Kelvin Sampson is at Houston, and he's not a candidate, but the #2 seed Houston, he's going to coach in Assembly Hall this week. And he's the former coach at Indiana that got fired over NCAA rules that don't even exist anymore regarding phone calls and text messages. It's kind of wild there, but rest assured, the agents in this business are assembling their portfolios in short order. Porter Moser at Loyola Chicago springs to mind. He's got a team that's going to be capable. Things can change so drastically here, Chris. If Loyola Chicago were to say upset Illinois in the second round and make a Sweet 16, like Porter Moser is going to be one of the 3 or 4 leading candidates to get the Indiana job by just pure virtue of making a Final Four. And if you were to make a second weekend run again with Loyola Chicago, he's another name that makes sense to me.
Boy, what a time to be a Hoosier fan right now. It's all about basketball in that state, and for that fan base, you got the whole college basketball world coming to your state, and your team is not part of it, and you no longer have a head coach. Archie Miller reportedly out at Indiana after 4 seasons, didn't have a single winning season in the Big Ten, 33-44 overall. Indiana has not made the NCAA tournament under Archie Miller. So that's that for now. March Madness is here, folks, and it's not just the teams that are involved in the tournament. The Hoosiers firing Archie Miller. More on the other side.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.